Well, my day is beginning to wrap up here on this Wednesday. I guess it is this week, midway through the week. I was hoping I could do some recording out on the patio area here, but the wind has picked up here in Arizona. If you are in Arizona, you know what that can be like. Has a tendency to blow a lot of dust around. So moved indoors for the evening. One of my one of the things that has really helped me over the course of my life has having some kind of routine at night. Like talk a lot about people talk a lot about having their morning routine, and I think morning is just as important. But I have found if you use your brain a lot, like I do throughout the day, I have to have some time between finishing up for the day and going to bed to just kind of let my brain stop and my brain to kind of gradually wind down. My guess is I'm not alone on that. It's so easy to kind of just keep going and going and going, and then I find I just don't sleep. It's hard to sleep in those moments, and I end up tossing and turning because I haven't had the time to process and to shut down. And it comes in different forms. Journaling has always been a big part of my life, reading, and sometimes just being quiet, sometimes just watching television, um, where I don't have to think. And so much of our time is spent in our heads, is thinking, is processing, is figuring out, trying to understand. And it feels like everything from the head down at times just gets forgotten. It's easily forgotten because it's like the mainframe of the computer up here. And we think it determines everything. I know in my own experience, it's been the source of of helping me in many ways. But unless I take the time to reflect on the rest of me, especially heart, soul, I know it's easy to kind of get lost in and swallowed up in everything going on in the world. And there's so much going on in the world. The immensity of pain that we experience. I was just talking to someone else who's a coach, and my mode of operation, years of working with people, has been identify the pain, triage, and then start the work. But you first really have to deal with the pain. You don't go into an emergency room bleeding all out or having a heart attack or something else and worried about a cut on your finger. And I think the same is true in our own lives, my own experience of work, that more than anything, people just need someone to listen to them and to connect with. And you know when it happens. You know when someone is really there, is really present, because it's not about the head at all. Like you feel it. It almost feels like time ceases in some ways and yet speeds up in another. And I think working with people over the years has taught me that more than anything. I was telling someone else as well. I spent a lot of years working with teenagers, college students, high school students, and especially in hearing confessions for them, I'd always felt it was so important to not be another parent figure. It just doesn't work. Like I can't be another authority because they already know what the authority is going to say. That they're expecting to be judged, expecting to be scolded, they're expecting to be told that they're wrong. Because we've all been there. We've all been teenagers in one way or another. We've done things wrong. We've hidden things about ourselves because we don't know how will we be received by others. And so it really did train me in many ways to just kind of sit and to be. And that nighttime experience for me is not doing it for others at the moment, but learning to do it for myself. And I'm grateful for those the hundreds of teenagers, thousands of teenagers that I've worked with over the years, who just needed someone to listen, who just needed someone to not judge, but to love them in return without any kind of condition. And I think if you can learn how to do that for yourself, it will change your life. It will change your life, and it will change the lives of every person around you, because you'll recognize and see your value in a way that you've never seen it before. And teenagers are a great example. And many people kind of get stuck in that space of teenager, of wanting to fit in. But it becomes about living someone else's life and living someone else's expectations. And I knew it even working with adults that would come in. I knew what they were expecting. I knew they expected some kind of judgment. I knew they expected some kind of identification of sin and wrongdoing. But everything about my faith taught me otherwise. And that's not to say that there is some semblance of accountability and responsibility for your life, and I get that. The problem is these things, I guess, if you want to say, that we do wrong, especially when we get stuck in our head, we begin to over-identify by them. So it's no longer that I did this wrong. It starts to become I'm wrong, and I'm a problem, and there's something wrong with me. And it just kind of unloads this level of shame that's hard for us to comprehend and understand, because I think it becomes such a normal part of who we are. And so this process of really learning to sit with myself in a way where I'm not judging, where I'm not trying to fill the space, where I'm not critiquing, but simply looking at my life from the perspective that I wanted to be heard from earlier in life as well, from the place of love. And I've talked to many people my age, midlife people, who will tell you that it is one of the most difficult lessons to learn in life, to be able to love yourself, to be able to love all of yourself, including the parts that you try to cut off, and the parts you try to figure out, and the parts you try to fix, and everything else that we like to think we can do, 20s, 30s, thereabouts. But there comes a moment where you just have to say, this is who I am. And maybe there are things you can change. There are always things we could change. We could change habits. We could change course in life. There are many things that we can't do. But there are also plenty of things in our lives, in our beings, that we have critiqued, we've tried to hide, we've tried to judge. That's where the real test of self-love begins to take shape. And the only way we could do that is by getting out of our head, is by learning to just be with ourselves, even in our own anxiousness, even in our own fear, and our own shit at times that we experience, and learn to love all of it. Learn to love all of it. That is the lesson I learned from teenagers, from working with teenagers, because I know it's not what they expected, and yet it's what they needed. And it's not only them that needed it. I had to learn the hard way that it was me that needed it. And it's every other person out there that wrestles with who they are. The journey to self-love is key. The journey to self-love is paramount, and that journey more than anything else has a way of transforming everything about your life. Just be still, just be with yourself, and remind yourself that you are loved and that you are love day in and day out, because it is a daily struggle. It's a daily reminder that we all have to give ourselves, that we really are loved, that we are worthy, and that we are enough.